Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Stihl MS362 chainsaw. The customer complaint is that it needs a fuel tank and a few other bits. We've got this throttle rod here with a saddle that it runs through that's broken. So all of that will need to get replaced. Or so I thought. If you clicked on this video in order to learn how to replace the fuel tank on this saw, well, this might not be the video for you. This doesn't go the way I had originally anticipated, but there is a valuable lesson to be learned here in this video. So you can see we have the new, let's call it a carb adapter with the saddle for the throttle rod. We got a broken fuel tank handle. And what else we got going on here? Let's pop the hood on this thing. It looks fairly clean underneath here. I don't know if he cleaned it up before he brought it in. I mean, if this thing fell or something was dropped on it, you would think that he was cutting with it and there'd be chips, but you know, it could have happened, you know, in the garage or falling out of a truck. Who knows? So let's get this carburetor off of here. 8mm T-handle wrench, 2 nuts, air filter base. There are a couple of rubber saddles that base rides in. Here's our choke linkage. I don't think that was even hooked up. We'll get this piece of linkage out of the carburetor. I don't see that the lever's broken or anything like that. So there's one of those rubber saddles I was talking about. Here's the other one. They're just pushed into a little knob there on the side of the saw. Now we can slide that whole air filter base right out of the way, revealing our carburetor. And I'm just expecting the linkage there because I'm not sure why that choke lever wasn't connected. I want to make sure nothing else got broken there. So a key lesson here would be to take a close look at everything before you move forward, because you know, if something expensive is broken, you might not be moving forward with the repair. All right, we got our carburetor off. Let's just blow some of the schmutz off of it. And then we can clean up some of this debris that's inside the carb bay. Alright, there's our new adapter. All we have to do is pull this ring out of here, and then the rubber intake boot just pushes through the adapter. Now, that sounds really easy, and a lot of times the job can go really easy, and other times you struggle a little bit. Now there's a lot of different methods for doing this. You know, taking it apart's pretty much always the same. You just push the boot through the bracket. Sometimes it goes easy, sometimes it doesn't. You don't want to tear the boot, so using your fingers rather than a sharp tool is probably a good plan. If you are going to use a tool, I like using a plastic pry bar with rounded edges. Still fighting it, no big deal. I'd rather take my time and not wreck it. These rubber boots have such a memory though, as soon as you let off of it, it goes back to where it was. So you can see I got the top half apart, and then the bottom half. That was the easy part, taking it off. Putting the new one on can be a little bit more difficult. And there are different ways of doing it. one method uses a piece of string. We're not going to use that method. I was just looking at these two adapters, and they're slightly different. I don't know why. I'm not heavy into Stihl, but it's going to work. It's got all the same pieces on it or parts on it that I need in order to adapt this carburetor on there. So now there's a string method you can use where you wrap a string around the intake boot to kind of collapse it and then just pull the string through. Usually I try and do it with my fingers first, and if I struggle then I grab the piece of string. And this seems to be going just fine here. So we got a plastic pry bar, and we're just going to gently roll that intake boot through, and that went pretty decent. The bottom one, which came apart really easily, is not cooperating, and maybe I should have started with the bottom one. Right now I have to take care of this spring that's poking me in the hand. I'm just going to tape that down so I don't get poked again. So a lot of times you can just put pressure against the boot and then just keep manipulating the edge of the boot until it pops through. And I'm going to use this plastic pry bar to help do that. And at any point here I could have given up and used a different method like a string. But you know, sometimes a guy can be stubborn. I mean, look how close it is. You'd think it would pop right through there. Yeah. You know, sometimes you feel you just got to conquer the thing, so you keep pushing on. And I think that's what's going on here. I'm going backwards now. I pulled it all apart on the bottom. I'm going to try and tuck the top half in first, and look at that. Went right together. So maybe it's just a matter of me not having enough experience with a Stihl intake boot like this one to know how to do it. You can be sure that if I have to do this job again, I'm going to try exactly the way it went there at the end. So now we put our ring in, and this funny looking metal piece, I don't know what Stihl calls it, some kind of a support, keeps the boot from deforming, I'm sure. And what do we got? We're not going to quite get into putting the carburetor on yet, because I need access to the fuel lines for taking the tank off. And we got our new tank here somewhere. Here we go. I don't remember what the cost of the tank was, but they don't give them away. Nice and shiny.
I really thought this was going to be loaded.
So it didn't come loaded. I'll have to put the fuel filter in here and put the cap on, no big deal. Everything's clean and dry, so working on it's pretty simple. This string retainer for these caps, I mean, I'm not complaining, but they're kind of a pain. They're always coming apart and then they wear out and they won't hold the cap in there anymore. So now I'm just taking a close look at what's needed in order to remove this tank. And I can look at the new tank and see where the mounts are to easily figure out where the screws are to pull the old one off. It's kind of like putting together a puzzle when you're looking at the picture on the cover of the box, right? So I'm going to remove the screws out of the handle because obviously they go into the tank. And if you're observant right now, you'll see where my frustration is going to come from. Let me know in the comments if you spotted this yet or not.
Holy crap, I didn't see that before.
I just spotted it. The case is cracked. And if I wouldn't have been so focused on just getting a replacement tank and those parts, and if I would have done a more thorough inspection of the saw, I would have found this. You know, I did give the saw a quick once over, but maybe I shouldn't have done it so quick. So I got to investigate this crack a little bit further and see if this is a deal breaker or not. Kind of get the feeling it is, but I still have to break the news to the customer, so I need to, you know, get my facts straight. The cover looks fine. I don't see any bends in the bar. I don't see any other damage to the saw, really. But that case is definitely cracked. That's going to allow the saw to wobble around a little bit. It's got the chain brake band mounted in it, so that makes it unsafe. So we're not going to fix it. Let my mistake be your lesson. So that's all I have for you on the Stihl MS362 that needed a fuel tank but didn't get one. Thanks for watching. Later.